Hello, everybody, and welcome to Viva Alive. And it's really about being alive and the possibilities we have as people to spend more time being alive. And today's topic is about problems and how can we turn them into possibilities. And I'm here with my dear friend and colleague, Daniela Limos. Daniela, how many problems do you think you function from in a day?
Wow, that's an excellent questions. Wow. Yeah. I try don't realize or recognize like a problem because for me, sometimes when when I say I have a problem, it's actually happening. It's a combination with three things: point of view, emotion, and a past memory, maybe. So, in other words, it's not the fact itself, but it's the meaning you gave to it.
So, yeah, because well, and I didn't mean to whack you, but in a sense, but it's kind of like we come across things every day and they start to be a thing that needs to be handled. And the thing that needs to be handled then is becomes like a problem to solve, something that requires our attention. To me, we can come up with multiple things that are in our worlds that we can change quickly. And they could be just like a fleeting something, or they could become bigger and like a problem to solve. Like, how am I going to get my kids to school on time?
Yeah,
How am I going to get my boss to listen to me more? Which could be for some people a problem. Like they get that they're not heard. And then I think problems are a contraction. And what most people do is think about them.
yeah. Um,
So so it's kind of like, wow, okay, so here's this thing coming into my world, and now I have something that I need to place my attention on. And so do you ever notice, like when something comes up as a problem,
yes,
where
yeah,
your attention goes?
yeah. It's not for the solution, it's for the problem, right? It's not for possibilities, but for, something that limited.
How do I get out of this? How do I solve it? How do I, if you really have a lot on your plate and you're stressed, how do I like put the fire out quickly? Is the way I put it. Like a problem is like a fire. It can be smoldering and then it can become like blazing,
Yeah, yeah,
huge, a big
yeah,
thing, or we create it as a big thing.
exactly. And I have an example because the most of people think that problem is the main things of their life. So I experienced this very clearly during a talk I gave. I asked a simple question to the audience. What if were not problems, only possibilities? And the reaction was almost immediate. People said, what do you mean? I have so many problems. And that moment, something that became very clear to me, people were not just experiencing problems, they were identifying with them. So it was as if the problem stopped being something that they face and and become something that defines who they are, right?
So you're saying that we become defined who we are by our problems. Is that correct? Did I hear that correctly?
That people think all the time because so it's no longer I'm going through a difficult situation. It becomes I am a person with problems.
Who has problems? Who has problems?
The, everybody's saying that, oh, I have a lot of problems, so I can't deal with that. So yeah, maybe they can have another perspective.
So what, so when I look at what problems are, we talked about this a little bit before we kind of got on. Like when people function from problems, does like it fills up their lives. It becomes the all-consuming soup pot of which to handle. And the one that screams the loudest is the one that gets the attention, kind of like kids.
Mm.
And it also contracts our lives. To me, when I go, oh, I've got something to solve, it automatically, there's a like a contraction of like something to handle. And then I wonder how many people, just as a question to you and like to everybody else, how many people create problems so they have something to solve? So
Yeah,
that gives them value. Like value as a person, because now you have something to solve, a bigger picture that requires solving.
yes.
And and it creates a thing where people are less present to what's really going on in their lives.
Exactly. Yeah. You make more limit decisions, right? And those decisions reinforce the problem. I
Well,
think it's a
I
cycle
guess it
to
depends on
change.
whether it's like a whether it's a flame or smoldering. Yeah. So what would you say in your experience working with people? What percentage of time do people spend being stressed and solving problems?
Wow, more than 80%.
More than 80%. So that leaves 20% of our time where we can be living, they could be living,
Yeah,
and they can start to, enjoy their lives. Because if you're like taking your time from being stressed and contracted and solving problems, are you actually really being present to living? 80%. That is remarkable.
yes, because they are not seeing possibilities. It's like their system is not set for look for them. It's only look at the problem and complain about the problem.
Well, and there was some interesting research that was done looking at where you place your focus, where you do negative thought processes. It actually wires your brain to negative thought processes. So you end up going I'm down this way of looking at life as though it's a problem and it's wired for looking for problems and it reinforces the negative aspect of living.
Yeah,
And I think you can sort of dial into it. There's a way that you can, dial into, place your attention on all the wonderful things in the world, all the greatness, or you could dial into the parts that are more negative and the world is, not doing so well. Like, where can you dial it into? And if you start focusing on that, you actually pull that energy, I'll call, with that perspective and energy into your world. So it becomes more of that. You ever notice that?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I try to transforming problem in possibilities. But
Okay,
it's not about being positive, right?
that's right.
It's not about ignoring what's happening. It's about changing the system through which you really read reality. It's moving from a treat-based mindset, yeah, to a curiosity-based mindset, and start with something very simple that you said before, the questions. I think we can use that like a tool.
Say more about that.
Most people, when facing the difficult situation, ask questions like, why is this happen to me?
Mhm.
What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Right? This question keep you inside the problem and not try change the. So I'm trying to give example to change the question. What possibilities exist here that I haven't considered yet? So no, notice the difference because it's open the space, open the possibility.
Well, the question opens
Yes,
it.
yes. The open question, but it's not
Mhm.
why and what I did, I do wrong, something like that.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people use the question why, like what happened and why did that happen to me, as though they were in the effect of it. And the only thing that a why question will ever give you about anything, why did
Mhm.
they do that? Why did they say that to me? The only thing you're going to get is like a circular reference, like a dog chasing its tail. Because
Yeah.
who knows why people do things? Like they do them
Mhm.
because they do them. So why isn't really going to give us a lot of clarity about it? And I have to wonder that we've been trained, like from an early age, to start to look at not the exploration of living, but more the we need to solve problems. Like how many people at dinner time, when they're with their family, listen to, wow, let's like explore what broccoli is. Let's talk about what is the thing that happened today that's a problem that needs to be solved. The so and so said something to somebody, or, something happened in someone's world and it didn't turn out right in the way that they thought it would. And then we start to be entrained to the idea that, like heat seeking missiles, we're going to find the problem and solve it. And maybe it's a way of entertaining, you know, taking your time away from how you could be spending your time and living it to fill in your time. So now you have a problem to solve. Now your time is totally filled up.
Yeah, yeah. And you can have a conversation like you are with the people that you like and your family to resolve a problem. So this
Uh-huh.
is true. Yes, this is very true. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
But
maybe the question we can share, sorry, finish. I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
no, because I think there is a very important thing about that when you are solving problems, look for the problems. Um, you are sometimes in fear and frustration or anxiety.
Uh-huh.
It's about the brain that you said before. The brain shifts into a survival mode sometimes, right? And it does not create. And that's why many times people try to change something and end up reinforcing the same scenario, like a cycle that you said before.
Mhm. Which I guess is sometimes the challenges when people go to certain kinds of psychotherapy to solve problems, solve what they're missing in their lives, and continue to talk about the thing that is bothering them. And as if they're going to get to the bottom of it,
Mhm.
which there's nothing wrong with psychotherapy.
Mhm.
But we know now that we can change things and do it differently by doing it differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
like looking at a scenario where we can change it from a problem. Because I thought it would be fun to like walk people through the process of going from problem to possibility. Like, what is that? What is that? Because that's a great tool that people can have because so many people have things that show up in their lives that well, let's say they don't show up, but part of it is that we pull them into our lives. But it shows up and it's something that has to be handled, let's say.
Yeah.
Let's say it has to be handled. And then let's create a scenario and then walk people through how you turn that problem into a possibility. Would that be fun? Okay, let's create a problem. No, let's not create a problem. Let's create a scenario that sounds like a
Yeah, yeah.
problem.
Yeah. Before you give the example, when you're talking, give some awareness about this. It's like a problem industry, you
Oh,
know?
wow.
Yeah, it's like a big industry. It's about problem that the people has to resolve and deal with that. So people, yeah, it came to me.
Create a problem industry. Oh, revenue stream. Could be a revenue stream. I'm just joking. So let's see. What's a scenario here that most people could probably somehow relate to? Let me think. I think the thing about time is a big thing that gets people. I don't have enough time to handle everything that's on my plate. And now my son calls me and wants my attention and wants me to drive him to see his friends. And I have so many things on my plate, so many, and I'm so stressed because everybody is asking for my attention. And now he calls me. And you know how much I love my son. And I don't know what to do because I have so much on my plate. So stressed. So now my son calls and I go, huh? Or he texts me and I really want to do it. And now there's no time for it. As though that's real. So let's play with that. So now that's a problem. Is that a problem? Is that a big enough problem? All of those things?
Yeah.
Okay. And it and it could and it could start from I'm so stressed and I have so much on my plate because I have so much on my plate. So how would you walk people through that? And I'm happy to chime in, but how would you walk people through that so that the problem now is different, that it becomes a possibility?
So, I'm gonna tell about me if this
Okay.
problem is with me because I have a son. It's all the time. It's a lot of things to do, and I
Okay.
have to. And when it's about him,
Yeah.
so a lot to do, but it's about him, about my family. I try to prioritize. He is my priority.
Okay.
Okay. So I used to ask questions. Sometimes I feel more comfortable if I talk to him about what's happened to me. So it becomes a possibility to show him how the life is.
Mhm.
So it's good for me and good for him too. So maybe in this case, in this example, he needs to wait a little bit more and he knows that I'm always there for him. So,
Okay.
but I don't go to be stressed. I may
Okay.
be tired because I have to deal with different things, but we have to have these different ideas. Sometimes we say that we are stressed, but we're not stressed. We are only tired. Yeah, I don't know if I answer your question, but it can.
No, it's fine. So you're saying, so if we just dissect this a little bit. So is the thing that's the problem of stress, is it real? You can say it out loud. Nobody's going to clobber you because they're not in the same room. They might clobber you online. They might clobber me on me because I asked the question. So they can clobber me. Come clobber me.
Yeah.
So is stress real?
If stress is real, is a question. Um, I don't know. I don't think so.
To me, uh, in my world, I'll give you my version. Doesn't have to be everyone's version, but stress is a discordance between, and what that means is like it doesn't match, like not in harmony for translation. Um, between what it is that we have put in our lives and how it is that we are functioning with that information. So stress is a like a construct, if you will, of how we are responding to the environment we have created, the environment we've put ourselves in. And the rigidity of how we operate is the thing that creates more of what stress is and solidifies it as though it is bigger than what it is. That's my perspective of stress. So it's a disharmony.
Yes. Yeah.
And then, so if there wasn't stress, what would that be?
Point of view.
Well,
Um,
would it be a possibility? I'll just give it to you. Somebody, is that a possibility? Oh my gosh, there's all these things, and it's discordant in my life. Does that create a possibility?
yeah. Yeah. There are a lot of possibilities with the problem. Yeah.
Wow, okay, so many problems, so many possibilities. Let me
Yes.
create more problems so I have more possibilities. So what if? So now, so you said, okay, so there's stress, and then you have this scenario with your son who's you is very important to you. So how would you turn whatever that is, how would you share with people how to change that to a possibility?
Oh,
How would you
maybe.
do it? I can share how I would do it, but why don't you share?
Okay. 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 Yeah. Okay. I think possibilities don't show up as a big answer. So they show up as a small choices. And these small choices begin to reorganize our reality. Um, okay, but um, thinking about that, maybe it's only a point of view about the problem and about the possibilities. But I have power over it, right? So, ah, yeah, maybe feel what is create uh, more, for magical or different with the situation. Yeah, I will choose something that will create more for me in this opportunity.
Okay. Um, and so you have this scenario that we just sort of, you can relate to the scenario I created, scenario I created, which, a lot of people have that. They have family things they have to handle. They have their job things they have to handle. They have like the family they live with, they have the external family, and then their own wishes and desires for living, and you put them all in the basket. And so everybody, a lot of people in the world have that.
Yeah.
Not uncommon. I go find me, and the funny thing about how people are is the more they tend to be, I've experienced this. The more the more they tend to be looking at creating a different world, the bigger, the harder the issues show up. So, you're moving through things, and then all of a sudden something big shows up that you weren't even planning on. Well, not that we plan on having issues, but they're not little anymore because you're already
Yeah.
skated above all the little. It's the and can create us to be off track. So to me, stress is being off track,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
problems keep us off track.
Yeah.
And then, so to get on track, to shift it, to me, the tools I use, not is to look at what the element that's shown up and ask, so what is that's going on really? Like, what am I aware of here really? Not my reaction to it, not my response, my automatic response to it, but more in the world of what is it that's really going on. Like, I talked to somebody recently and they were actually having some issues with their son. And I was talking about, I used exactly that question. What is it that's really going on? Does this person, does the son actually really require more attention? Is that really the element that's there? And then the person was like, oh yeah, more attention. Oh, that's the thing that they're asking for. It's not the behavior that they're doing. It's not the things that they're saying. It's that what is it that's really the scenario? And I think that stepping back and asking what is it that's really going on as a question can give us, without looking really for the answer, can give us some clarity so we know what next steps to take.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the other tool I love to use is what else is possible here. So the scenario shows up,
Hmm.
and just if you ask the question, what else is possible here? And I even like to go, what else is possible here I have not yet imagined? And I kind of leave it out there. And then
Yes.
maybe 2 hours later, something will show up
Yeah.
in my awareness about how I could handle it, change it, diffuse it, any of those kinds of things. Maybe not instantaneously, but it will certainly show up.
Yes. Yes. So I don't need to conclude anything, right? Maybe new possibilities will begin to show up. Yeah.
Yeah, if you use those tools, like just start with those. Even asking the question, what else is possible here, starts to change the energy of a scenario. People people talk about energy in sports, they talk about energy of people, but they never look at the energy of a scenario because it's not something that we're ever, taught to look at. But
Yeah.
people openly now talk, oh yeah, that the energy of that team was so amazing.
Yeah.
The energy of that person, they have bad energy, they have good energy. But in this case, it's like the scenario. So what it does is it changes the scenario. It changes the energy of the scenario going, what else is possible? And it brings new awareness to to the situation. And now it's gone from problem and the information that you receive about how to change it is a possibility. And now it's no longer a problem. That's how I would describe that.
Wow.
It's just
Yeah.
my version.
Insp yeah. Inspiration for me because um, you can always bring in something new for our life that
Mm.
give more quality of life and feel living more with presence. And yeah, thank you.
Mm. Well, and that's the target is to me, the target if we're looking to have more living
Yes,
is
yes.
to live from being present so that the problems don't sidetrack us so that we have a possibility to live more, to have more fun. So what would it take for all of the people who have 80% of their lives focused on problems to maybe start using tools that can maybe have them operate from more from possibilities?
Wow. Yeah.
And another question could be, before we close off, what question would you like to leave people with?
I
Because we
have
always
to.
leave them with a question.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, for contributor. I have two questions. Two.
Okay. All right.
In what area of your life are you calling something a problem that could actually be a possibility?
Okay.
That was for
That's a
me.
good one. And what's the second one?
And if you didn't need to change anything immediately, but only change your point of view, what would become available to you?
Okay. That's another great question. That's a great way to end this conversation. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We're so grateful, and we'll see you again next week on Viva Alive.